Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Bruce Frisco. Todd Battis is off this week. It is Thursday, the 9th of October. This is CTV News. Tonight, home at last. Wildfire evacuees are allowed to return. Next level cancer care, providing emotional support for patients in the fight of their lives.
And the heat we had to start the week won't be returning, but the long weekend is still looking fair.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Bruce Frisco.
Good evening. Hundreds of Nova Scotians evacuated because of an out-of-control wildfire were able to go home today. Although it's still burning, officials say the fire is now being held. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness was there when the roads reopened.
People were lining up in advance of the noon reopening of the evacuation zone on Aylesford Road.
It's been, a little disheartening because we not knowing what was going on. A little scary that way, right? All our stuff's here. You only got to leave with this little car full of stuff. So.
The road isn't open yet to the public, just those who were told to evacuate.
Welcome home.
Okay, officials were checking identification before letting people through.
Maybe some kind of bill or something that would prove like where they're living. And so we can check off as well to make sure people are actually getting back, and so we can check them off the list.
Nova Scotia's Department of Natural Resources says the Lake George fire is being held and that crews are still working to get it under control, but the risk to homes is low.
Fire crews did an amazing job because I did not expect to be back anytime soon.
So we do have a camera on the house, so we were watching them spray down our house, but it was very stressful not being there and not knowing the conditions or how close it was to the house.
Firefighters from Nova Scotia and BC are still in the woods fighting this fire. 4 planes from the Northwest Territories and 5 helicopters are helping from the air.
They were great. I can't thank them enough for keeping all of our households safe and getting us back home as soon as possible.
The Lake George wildfire is currently estimated at 288 hectares. 350 civic addresses were within the evacuation zone. And Bruce, residents were given this booklet when they were allowed back in through the checkpoint. It provides information on everything from checking the home or the cottage to managing the stress of the evacuations that came to an end today. Bruce.
Yeah, a lot to think about for sure. Thanks, John. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness reporting from Aylesford tonight. To court now, where the former owners of the now defunct Halifax Ale House testified at Alexander Levy's manslaughter and criminal negligence causing death trial. Levy was a former bouncer at the bar. The owners told the judge they had no requirement for their security workers to have undergone any training. That's something the family of Ryan Sawyer have said needs to change. CTV's Callum Smith continues his coverage tonight, but first a warning. Some of the footage in this item may be unsettling to some viewers.
A trial has heard Ryan Sawyer never regained consciousness after this altercation outside the Halifax Ale House in the early morning of Christmas Eve 2022. He was taken to hospital where he died. Today, the former owners of the now shuttered and sold bar took the witness stand at Alexander Levy's manslaughter trial. Michelle Corey, known as Michaud, told the judge he went to Levy right away, who happened to be his head of security. Quote, "I didn't do anything. I didn't sign up for this. They jumped me," unquote. Those are the words Corey said he heard from Levy, who repeatedly said, quote, "They attacked me." Ryan Sawyer and his twin brother had just been told to leave the bar following an altercation upstairs. That's when Levy told Corey the incident started outside, leading to wrestling on the ground. According to Corey's testimony, Levy said as soon as the man stopped resisting, he let go and put his arms up. The trial heard on Monday. Levy ignored repeated demands from a police officer to let go before the constable removed Levy's arms from Sawyer's neck. In court Thursday, Corey and his brother Marcel told the judge there were no mandatory training requirements for bouncers, but that some had been done years earlier and that there were policies and procedures for security staff. Sawyer's family has been advocating for regulation for bouncers at bars. As for Levy, Marcel Corey said he didn't want to return to work, so they laid him off. Corey agreed with Levy's defense lawyer that there was a belief that other bouncers would be at risk of danger if he continued working due to public perception about the case. Corey said some customers threatened security staff. The Crown says it should finish its case when the trial resumes on Tuesday, and then it will be up to Levy whether or not the defense will call any evidence. Callum Smith, CTV News, Halifax.
Charge has now been laid in connection with a homicide in St. John more than a year ago. Police were called to a house on Brunswick Drive on May 14th of 2024, and they found a man's body inside. Last week, police say they charged a 51-year-old man with manslaughter. Police say the victim and the suspect were known to each other. Several people injured after a crash on Nova Scotia's Highway 101 last evening. Happened around 7 p.m. near exit 14 in Coldbrook, Kings County. 3 vehicles were involved. All of them sustained significant damage, and one burst into flames. The injured were assessed by EHS and taken to hospital. The highway was closed for a time, but later reopened. Investigators are still trying to figure out exactly what happened there. NB Liquor is trying to unload its stock of U.S. liquor worth $3.4 million. You'll recall the booze was pulled from shelves in March in response to the sudden trade war between our country and the United States. It's generally been sitting in warehouses, except for a little bit. NB Liquor is sold through its agency stores and some bars and restaurants. Now, NB Liquor is trying to sell it at the depot in Salisbury.
Because we really want to maximize the value for New Brunswick. We own these products. Let's sell them. Let's get our money out of these products. So we're actively working to recover that investment for the people of New Brunswick, reduce waste. We don't want to be storing these products, or, in the event some of them get too old, then you have to destroy the products.
Stickles admits most of the products do have a longer shelf life, but the agency, as you heard, is trying to recover the money already spent to buy them. The committee tasked with monitoring progress in the Mass Casualty Commission final recommendations has released its second report. While there has been some progress, it would seem there's still a fair amount of work to do. CTV's Jesse Thomas has more.
The Progress Monitoring Committee was created in 2023 to track how the federal and provincial governments, along with the RCMP, are responding to the Mass Casualty Commission's 130 recommendations. Committee Chair Myra Freeman says 2 years in, progress has been made, but the work is far from over.
We are on a path that is moving us forward. Some things are taking longer because they're complex and because they are cultural shifts, and those things can't be changed instantly.
The committee has met 9 times and received 14 presentations since forming. They measure progress through key themes like emergency preparedness, mental health and victim supports, RCMP governance, and responses to gender-based violence. The final report is due back next year, and will pay close attention to recommendations around gender-based and intimate partner violence. The province's Minister for the Advisory Council on the Status of Women said when decisions are made across all government departments, they're done with gender equity in mind.
It's really listening to the sector and bringing the sector closer to government and closer to the decision-making process, and meeting regularly to have these discussions.
Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston thanked the committee for its oversight, saying progress is being made, but many issues are complex. Along with addressing the epidemic of intimate partner violence and the causes of violence, we must also break down systemic barriers and improve the safety and resilience of communities. We know it'll take all of us working together to realize the significant and systemic changes that the Commission called on us to make. The committee's work stems from the April 2020 mass shooting when a gunman disguised as an RCMP officer killed 22 innocent Nova Scotians during a 13-hour rampage. Freeman says meaningful change will take time and the work will outlive the committee's 3-year mandate. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
Okay, here's a live look at Moncton, where it's currently 9 degrees. 9 degrees. We're down to single digits now, and with that in mind, we'll get our first look at the forecast from Kalen. That's quite a difference, you know.
I'm not used to seeing a 9 without a 1 or a 2 in front of it this week, Bruce. Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah, it's definitely been a return of sweater weather to the Maritimes behind the cold front that moved through. I did want to start off with some rainfall reports from that weather system. There was a fairly large part of the Maritimes that picked up some rainfall totals between 10 and 30 millimeters. There were even pockets that reported some rainfall amounts between 30 and 50 millimeters of rain, including a few parts of the Annapolis Valley. And boy, did they really need that in the Annapolis Valley of Nova Scotia. Now, likewise, there were a few locations as well that ended up being a little bit shorted by that weather system as far as the overall rainfall amounts went. Parts of the north of New Brunswick and parts of Atlantic coastal Nova Scotia, where some communities finished with less than 5 millimeters of rain, and we certainly know we need more than that. Taking a look at temperatures right now, as we just saw, it's single digits for many parts of the Maritimes. They're mostly in the range of around 7 to 11 degrees. We are headed into a bit of a colder, chilly October night with a risk of some frost developing. There's some frost advisories in effect for some areas. At this point, though, we're also still seeing some scattered showers. Some of those showers coming across parts of Prince Edward Island, northern eastern areas of Nova Scotia. For PEI in the east of Nova Scotia, there will continue to be some showers as we make our way through actually most of the night before it looks like they'll be coming to an end during the overnight hours. Fair amount of clearing, though, expected for New Brunswick and western areas of Nova Scotia as we move through tonight. A couple things you can see in the night sky include a waning gibbous moon, 91% illuminated, rising above the eastern horizon. Saturn will be above the southeastern horizon. The Big Dipper and the Little Dipper just above the northern horizon. Bruce.
All right, thank you, sir. Full forecast coming up in 15, 20 minutes or so. Well, it is considered a game changer for a select group of homeless people in Halifax. A new facility tailored to people who are 50 and older is set to open very soon. CTV's Emma Convey got a grand tour.
It's official. Osnum Place on Brunswick Street in Halifax has opened its doors, providing more than 36 people on the by name list with a place to now call home.
As a society, we help people in any way we can. We help them with food, we help them with rent, we help them with utilities, et cetera, and we thought this was a natural extension of the work that we do.
The Society of St. Vincent de Paul has been working on this $17.7 million supportive housing project for around 2 years now, a first of its kind here in Nova Scotia.
We're looking at 38 units, 5 of them are 1 bedroom, and 33 of them will be studio. They all come with their own kitchens, bathrooms, and living areas.
240 people qualified to live here, meaning they are on the by name list, 50 years or older with 2 years or more experience homelessness and health needs. The North End Community Health Center will operate this facility.
Anybody who qualifies to live in this wonderful facility will have been experiencing chronic homelessness, which we kind of define as being at least 2 years, and have health care issues, have mental health and addiction issues. Really, what they need is support to remain housed.
A trauma-informed building with social workers, physio, and occupational therapists on site.
Indigenous folks, African Nova Scotian folks are absolutely overrepresented on the by name list, which is where all of the tenants are going to come from here. So about half of our tenants are going to be Indigenous, a quarter of them are going to be African Nova Scotians. They're really going to form this community, and our staff, they're going to see themselves in our staff.
25% of the occupants will also be women. The provincial government says it will contribute $1.3 million annually. The Affordable Housing Association of Nova Scotia also put $600,000 into the initial excavation work 2 years ago.
A shelter isn't a home. A hotel room isn't a home. This is a home, and this is what we need more of. And we know that this is actually more cost-effective for our governments when it's up and running.
Staff move into this facility next week, and residents not long after. Emma Convey, CTV News, Halifax.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
We all know a cancer diagnosis is devastating enough, generally requiring medical treatment. Now, though, a new center in Fredericton is offering something extra so those patients don't feel alone. It's emotional support. CTV's Laura Brown has more.
You get sick and it sucks.
For Norche Kunin, a stage 4 breast cancer diagnosis took the oomph right out of her. Her normally active lifestyle was changed drastically with numerous appointments and treatments and fatigue and a lot of questions.
What is my life going to be like? Am I going to die? When am I going to die? That's more the question that I have. When am I going to die? And then once you're settled into a rhythm of treatments, or you know what the plan is, you kind of fall in this abyss, I would almost say, where it's really, you're kind of left to deal with all the emotional stuff.
Her medical care has been excellent, she says, but she needed emotional support. Enter the new Chalmers Foundation Care and Support Center.
Some days I don't feel well at all, and I come here and I just feel the warmth and the energy from the people that are here to support us.
From how to make meals that are more appetizing during treatment to yoga and therapy. The center was the brainchild of the team at the Chalmers Foundation, and now 85 cancer patients as well as caretakers are already taking part in the programs offered here. The need is greater than you might think. Family doctor Ann Collins says providers have to deliver a diagnosis or treat a cancer patient nearly every day.
It's a gut-wrenching, heartbreaking feeling. Oftentimes you've had a long-standing relationship with these people, and you know that they're going to want answers that you don't necessarily hold at that moment in time.
She says a space like this was the missing piece. Cancer rates are generally higher in Atlantic Canada. Premier Susan Holt has promised more seamless oncology care in her new provincial healthcare plan.
Something that hasn't been done before that calls out how prevalent cancer is in our system and how we need to be putting solutions in place.
This center was built almost entirely from donations from businesses and families. A place to try and get a little oomph back.
We talk. We laugh a lot, more than you might expect. We do cry too. We encourage, we support, we are there for each other.
Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
Thank you, Laura. Still ahead tonight, chilly with a risk of frost this evening. Kaylin has all the weather details coming up. Next, though, a surprise during a maritime art auction.
Because the mods prices are quite high and inaccessible for some buyers, there is more of an interest in Everett.
A piece of work by Everett Lewis sells for a price usually reserved for his famous wife, Maude. That story's next. Okay, so safe to say most Canadians are familiar with the name and the paintings of famed Nova Scotia artist Maude Lewis. Her life, of course, documented in the big film Maudie about 9 years ago. Now, though, it seems her husband's artwork is also garnering some attention and generating some serious cash. In fact, an Everett Lewis painting recently fetched nearly $20,000 at an auction house in St. John. And yes, that is an international sales record for his work. Here's CTV's Avery McRae.
It was estimated to sell for no more than $4,500, but by the time the auction closed, this Everett Lewis oil painting Two Black Cats wound up going for a whopping $18,400.
We were expecting $3,000 to $4,000 possibly for this. That would be a good sale. But his work, because the mods prices are quite high and inaccessible for some buyers, there is more of an interest in Everett.
The high catch marks an international sales record for the Nova Scotia folk artist's work. Everett is the husband of famed Nova Scotia painter Maude Lewis, who in the same auction had her white fluffy cat painting sell for double the estimated price at nearly $50,000.
Everett's work isn't as competitive in the marketplace as Maude's, and so his work typically sells in the $3,000 to $5,000 range.
The record sale has some art dealers scratching their heads.
My gut's telling me that there's a connection to Maude's Three Black Cats, which is her iconic images. So if one of those isn't available, then it's going to be the next best thing.
You can find Maude Lewis selling her paintings from the front steps of her little house here in Marshalltown, Nova Scotia.
Another theory behind the rise in fame in both Maude and Everett's works in recent years is the 2016 biopic Maudie, which paints the couple's story on screen.
It just brought a lot of attention to Maude Lewis that otherwise wasn't there. And then the more eyeballs that are on it, the higher it's going to sell.
Whether this recent sale sets a new bar for Maude and Everett's works it's tough to say.
The truth is that there's such an up and down in the market because there's so many mods and Everetts still out there left to service.
Meaning each sale has the potential to be a priceless one. Avery McRae, CTV News, St. John.
Thank you, Avery. Still to come tonight, the results of the largest survey on women's health ever conducted here in our region. Next, though, a breezy start to the Thanksgiving weekend. Kaylin's full forecast coming up next. I think we used all the crayons in the crayon box to color this picture from the White Point Beach Resort on this Thursday evening. Isn't that something?
That's beautiful, isn't it?
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, you could go out there and enjoy that. You just have to dress a little bit warmer. It's sitting at 11 degrees right now. We know that other parts of the Maritimes in the single digits and going to be getting chilly tonight.
Frost advisory, I guess, yeah.
That's right.
For sure, yeah.
Getting a little bit late in the growing season, but
it is.
Still you want to give people a heads up that there is a freeze coming for some areas tonight.
Cover the tomatoes.
That's right. Let's take a look at what's going on. Quick update here on Tropical Storm Jerry. This one is going to be quick because Jerry's headed off towards the northwest. Still forecast to become a Category 1 hurricane, but then looks like it's going to steer to the east, even of Bermuda, and then head back out towards the open ocean waters. So that's away from us here in the Maritimes and Atlantic Canada. No impacts expected from that weather system. This evening, we do still have some showers on the go for some areas, mostly around Prince Edward Island, northern eastern areas of Nova Scotia. Those are going to continue on all the way up until around midnight, and then during the overnight hours, they should begin to come to an end, except for a low chance of a couple spotty showers around Inverness County to start the day for tomorrow. The remainder of the Maritimes on Friday is expecting to be mostly sunny, and it's going to be a brisk and breezy afternoon. Now, high temperatures come up a few degrees compared to where they were today, but again, it's what could be described as sweater weather around the Maritime region. Now, the winds, you probably noticed them today. They were quite gusty. They continue that way into the first part of this evening. But for tomorrow, they do come down just a little bit. The peak wind gusts down by about 10 to 20 kilometers per hour. So that's what I'm describing. Friday is a little bit more on the breezy side, whereas today would have been gusty. Some of the peak wind gusts tomorrow between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. Here's the frost advisories that have been issued for the Maritime. So they're out across the west of Nova Scotia and much of New Brunswick, except right up in the northwestern corner of the province. And I think that's because they've already been into a couple of frost situations already as we've gone through the season. So they've already had a couple of freeze events. But again, like Bruce said, if anybody's got any temperature sensitive plants out, we're still out in those areas, you cover up or bring inside. You might want to do so tonight. Here's a look at the low temperatures tonight in the Maritimes. And for western areas of New Brunswick, some lows tonight could be falling into a range around -4 to 0. Other parts of the Maritimes tonight with low temperatures, mostly between 0 and 6 degrees. A few areas of Cape Breton with low temperatures between 6 and 8. Highs in the forecast for tomorrow across the north of New Brunswick between 12 and 14. Sunny, brisk day. And down through central and southern areas of New Brunswick, the high temperatures between 12 and 15 degrees. For Prince Edward Island on Friday, high temperatures near 12 for O'Leary, Summerside, Charlottetown, Montague, and then near 10 for St. Peter's Bay and 11 for Surrey. In Cape Breton, high temperatures near 11 for Shittycamp and Ingonish for tomorrow, 12 for Sydney and St. Peter's, and 13 at Port Hawkesbury. Low teens for the north shore of mainland Nova Scotia, as well as for communities on the eastern shore. Northern and central parts of the province with highs around 13 for Amherst, 12 for Truro, and 14 for the city centers Halifax and Dartmouth, 12 at Chester and Lunenburg. Continuing down the south shore, 15 at Liverpool and Shelburne, and 12 at Yarmouth, Annapolis Valley tomorrow with highs mostly around 12, 13 degrees. So sunny but brisk and breezy. Taking a look at the 7-day outlook, which of course takes us into Thanksgiving weekend. Saturday is looking like a very pleasant day around the Maritimes. Lots of sunshine and high temperatures up into the high teens. Sunday for New Brunswick, a mix of sun and cloud. High temperatures come down towards the mid-teens. Increasing cloudiness on Monday. Possible rain on Tuesday of next week, followed by cloudy periods on Wednesday and a chance of showers on Thursday. For Nova Scotia in the outlook, lots of sunshine on Saturday, high temperatures in the high teens, mid-teens on Sunday with a mix of sun and cloud, increasing cloudiness on Monday, possible rain on Tuesday of next week, followed by cloudy periods for both Wednesday and Thursday. And Prince Edward Island gets off to a sunny start to the Thanksgiving weekend and then turns over to a mix of sun and cloud for both Sunday and Monday, as well as Tuesday of next week, and then looking a little bit cloudier the Wednesday, Thursday time frame. Bruce.
Right, you are. A wake-up weather still to come. Next, we'll tell you about a fascinating new survey that sheds light on women's health care and a lot of issues that are being ignored. Stay with us. We shall be right back.
Okay, so we're back at it tomorrow. Virgin Radio's 5K Day, giving you a chance to win $5,000.
Get those keywords starting with us at 7 a.m.
And you could win 4 passes to the haunted house, The Manor, at Alderney Landing. Good luck.
Fascinating new survey reveals maritime women, the vast majority, in fact, often put their own health care needs in the back seat because they're generally too busy dealing with everyone else's problems, and a lot of times their own concerns might not be taken seriously. The details came out today in the largest women's health survey ever conducted in the Maritimes. More than 27,000 women participated. Joining us tonight with the details, we are happy to welcome a familiar face, the president and CEO of the IWK Foundation, Jennifer Gillivan. Thanks so much for speaking with us tonight, Jennifer. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bruce, for covering the story. It's great to be here.
You launched this survey just literally a few months ago in June, right? How did you get
Actually,
almost...
in July.
In July.
Sorry.
You got almost 30,000 responses. You were expecting 2,000. How did you get 10 times that number of women to respond?
Well, we just asked. We asked the question, and we just asked. We went to women and we said, we just want to hear your health story. And you know, I was dubious. I'm not joking you. July, you know, in the summer months here, and I thought, are we going to be able to get 2,000?
Sure.
We just put it out there. We didn't make follow-up phone calls. Nothing. We just put it out there, and within 48 hours, we had the first 2,000 responses. And we knew then that we had hit a chord, we had hit something. And then, I mean, we could have kept going. We just did it for a month and probably got 100,000.
Yeah.
They just kept coming in. So women have spoken loudly and clearly.
And some themes you've noted that have emerged here, women describing health journeys marked by, strength, frustration, systemic barriers, a deep desire for change. This wasn't just about them flagging that we need more doctors and you have to shorten wait times.
Okay, so the overwhelming theme that we heard, because we didn't just get answers to questions, we got narratives, we got stories. We got actually over 13,000 stories. And the biggest sort of theme we heard was women were being dismissed. They weren't taken seriously. So when they did go and try and prioritize themselves, and if they were lucky enough to get into someone, they didn't take them seriously. And they would go, look, I feel something's wrong here, and they weren't taken seriously. So a lot of them, you know, really just either put some of their family members first, or because they've had negative experience, they didn't put themselves first. And that was sort of heartbreaking. The other thing we really saw come out loud and clear was they said 86% of them said the system has to change. It wasn't just one thing. It was the system has to change. They recognized that, you know, doctors and medical professionals are not trained on women's bodies. They talked about having specific research. They talked about having hubs, health hubs, where they could go and have an integrated, holistic sort of 360 experience, as opposed to trying to talk about one symptom, which didn't really help them. Interestingly enough, the other thing I noticed was they said over 70% of them said it was negatively impacting their work life. So it was actually impacting their productivity, and there was a percentage of them that actually said they couldn't even work. Which was, you know, really hard to read. But they came out loud and clear and said, we need a system change, and it needs to be all of us, not just one health center or one health authority. It's got to be all of us in this.
Work life, home life, sleep patterns, all of it impacted as well. You also asked women what issues they want prioritized, and menopause and hormonal health kind of came up on top, right?
Yeah, which was, you know, it's not a surprise because premenopause, menopause, and postmenopause is nearly 30 years of your life as a woman. You don't get a choice, and it's not something you just go through and come out the other side. With all of this, you can have other health implications, especially if you've had severe symptoms. Menopause alone has over 30 symptoms. And so they sort of combined, number one was menopause, stress, anxiety, depression, which kind of, you can see how it flows from this. Obesity and weight gain management, again, that's interconnected with hormones, which aren't tested regularly. You can see how all this flows together. And then sleep disorders, which then led into heart disease and cancer. They were the top 6 categories when we added it up right across. And the other interesting thing too, Bruce, was that I expected like rural versus urban.
Sure.
You know, the different provinces, there'd be different answers. What we got was a similar set of answers and a similar set of stories, no matter where the women were writing from.
Interesting. How, you know, you've said this is kind of a roadmap for the future. Are you confident that this information will be taken to heart by government? We'll see some changes, or is it?
I don't think government alone can be the ones to change it. I think it's got to be all of us. And so what we're doing today is we're giving these women a voice, thanks to people like you and media. You're giving their words a platform. We're inviting government, but we're also inviting the private sector and ourselves and everyone to listen, to read this report. It's out there now. It's on our website. Read it. And then when you know what you know, then what are you going to do about it, right? So it's about then what can everyone do to kind of move this forward. And we're encouraging women to speak up. We're encouraging health professionals to speak up. And so what we're saying is, like, we're going to come back, the foundation will come back in a few weeks and say, or months, and say, here's what we can do. But we're only one piece of it. The IWK itself is only one piece of it. So this is about sparking a conversation that's not only here in the region, but it's actually going national. So I would say stay tuned. There's more coming, and we're not letting go of this. And we've made a promise to these women, and I personally will take this on and hope others join me. Let's have the conversation, and let's reimagine a healthcare system that's built for all of us, not just for half of us.
A very, very important message. We'll have to leave it there. Jennifer, thanks so much for your time tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bruce.
Jennifer Gillivan, the president and the CEO of the IWK Foundation, which just released the results of a mammoth study on women's health, the largest study ever conducted in the Maritimes, in fact. Stay with us. We shall be right back.
The opinions expressed in this segment are solely those of the commentator. They do not purport to reflect the opinions or views of this station, CTV News, Bell Media, or its employees.
Tonight, Steve Murphy has some thoughts on election promises, government debts, and provincial priorities. Here's Steve.
During the election campaign that first made him premier in 2021, Tim Houston said he was willing to spend whatever it takes to fix health care in Nova Scotia, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's a promise he's kept, at least in part. The healthcare budget is now close to $6 billion a year. And there have been improvements in the system, but whether it's fixed or even close to being fixed is a matter of opinion, fueled by politics. In 2021, the same Tim Houston promised to balance the province's books in 6 years. That promise is nowhere close to being kept. His government has just reported it's on track to rack up a deficit of $1.2 billion this year. Now, in a province of roughly 1 million people, that's about $1,200 per person, and that's for this year alone. The province's debt, the accumulation of all government deficits, is projected to be $22 billion. That's $22,000 per person. Now, those numbers are so big, it's easy to think this is not real money, but it is. A province's ability to finance its debt is determined by credit ratings that reflect the government's handling of public spending. Larger debts bring higher interest charges. Now, few would argue with the importance of a well-funded healthcare system, but money spent on debt servicing is money that can't be spent on government programs. Tim Houston says not to worry. Nova Scotia can grow its way out of debt with untold future profits from his Wind West energy project. Well, that's the same thing the 1980s Premier John Buchanan said about untold riches from offshore oil and gas. And we know how that turned out. It's time for Tim Houston to tell Nova Scotians how much further into debt he's willing to go, and whether he's still committed to balancing the books, and if so, when, and how he plans to do it. Future generations who will have to pay have the right to know. I'm Steve Murphy.
Time now for The Scene. Tonight is all about shining a spotlight on the musical talent within our African Nova Scotian community. The ANSMA Awards will be handed out tonight in Halifax. And that is where Katie Kelly joins us from now ahead of the show. Katie.
And Bruce, we have a very special guest here at the African Nova Scotia Music Awards tonight. Slim of 112 is in Halifax. Hello.
Hi, how you doing? I feel so honored to be here.
Well, I can't tell you how honored we feel to have you here. This is so cool.
Thank you so much.
Yay, yay. I, like so many of our viewers watching, grew up listening to your music, Peaches and Cream, Cupid, the list goes on. I gotta thank you for those jams, man.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you all for supporting us. We're embarking our 30th year, and that's so crazy. In fact, we're doing a tour. We're doing a worldwide tour. Hopefully, we can get over here to Nova Scotia. You know?
I hope so. Does it feel like 30 years? That sounds crazy to me.
Oh, my God. Where did the time go? No, it doesn't, but I'm grateful.
Yeah. And what do you plan for that tour? That's going to be a time, I'm sure.
Well, it starts in the United States, starts November 5th, and it goes all the way through February. And we're in talks with Live Nation. Thank you, Live Nation, for making that happen. But we're trying to, expand it.
Yes, amazing. Yeah, well, if you could get any maritime shows on that list, we would be grateful forever. Yes. Listen, 112, you guys put boy bands and R&B music on the map. You really did. And not just with those bangers, but with culture, with your wardrobe, your presentation just in general. Did you know you were doing that at the time? Could you feel it?
Well, not at the time. You know, that was one of our things, what differentiated us from the other groups. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just the bangers. It was like the culture, the style, the way and how we approached everything, the videos, how it was taped. So, so it was a bit of art and music together.
Yeah, for sure. I just got to quickly, and I don't want to dwell on it, address the elephant in the room. Got his, we found out the verdict last week. Yes. You guys were signed to Bad Boy Records back in the day. How did you feel about that verdict?
Well, even though we left Bad Boy in 2003, it always feels like a family. And I think this is a time for, Diddy, and I'm just talking he's family. So, to reflect and, he really he doesn't have anything to prove. And I think his book is still being written. Mm-hmm. God is the author. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think he's still, the blessed part about it is that he has a chance to come out. He has a date to walk out. That being said, he can do a lot of good. Learning from the things and the mistakes in the past, he has a lot of good to share with others. You know what I mean? He can be a beacon of light for others, Yeah,
that's a good way to look at it. Moving ahead, we talked about all those old jams, and there's so many, but you're making new jams too. Yes. I know you got a new song out. Yes. So tell me the deets.
Yeah, so the record is entitled Somebody to Love, right? And big shout out to my boy Dirk Pate. I flew to Denver, Colorado for y'all. Denver, Colorado. And, we just got together, started making some music, and I was looking for a sound, and that record really spoke to me. So, it felt so summerish, you would drop the top down, and, so put the record out, and, I got a remix with Murphy Lee of, the St. Lunatics, and that will be coming out very shortly, so keep your ear out to that one, but it's amazing.
Yes, awesome. Oh my gosh, you're killing it. Okay, one more quick question for you. We're here at the ANSMA Awards. We're here celebrating black music here in Nova Scotia. This is such a special event. Why did you want to be part of it?
Oh my gosh, because there's a lot of parallels to the culture here and in the United States. And the pride of the Africans here, and, you know, you listen to the music, and it feels the same way as in the United States, where I know that it's 5% here, you know, the black people here. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And we represent 13% in the United States. But we have this incredible power to sculpture, to influence. You know what I mean? You know, and here I'm just so proud of all of the artists out here, and I can't wait to meet them and listen to the music, and, you know, and I want to celebrate with them. So, you know what I mean? I feel like this is an overall celebration, all of us together. You know what I mean?
I love that answer, and cannot wait to see you playing them hits on stage tonight.
I cannot wait. I'm going to take you all down memory lane. We're going to go all the way from 96 all the way to now.
Oh, cannot wait.
Yes.
Slim of 112 is in Halifax. There's still time to get down here to the Lighthouse Arts Center.
Let's go.
Come on. Back to Bruce.
Okay, thanks, Katie, and thank you, Slim. Here's a look at tonight's primetime lineup.
Mornings with Aaron and Peter.
We're giving away $20,000 every week with Move's Dream Big, plus a daily bonus prize of $1,000.
Listen for your keywords weekdays, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. to win.
Mornings with Crash and Sarah Betts.
Tomorrow, rules you do not follow, probably because you're lazy and don't care.
And then we'll also give away another $1,000 with Move Dream Big.
On the markets today, the Dow ended the day down 243 points. Revenue is up 32% at a Canadian clothing retailer that reported its latest earnings after the trading day ended. Here's Morella Fernandez with more.
Revenue is up 32% at Aritzia. The Canadian clothing retailer reported its latest earnings after the trading day ended. Net revenue came in at $812 million for the latest quarter, and that easily surpassed expectations. The company is seeing strong sales in the U.S. They were up 40% year over year. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down more than 1/3 of a cent to 71.30. West Texas Intermediate crude is down close to $1 to 61.03. Western Canadian Select is up to 51.43. And the TSX dropped 232 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Thank you, Morella. And now we'll head outside to Kaylin on the weather deck. I know the rain ended a long time ago. Has the wind died down at all? It's quite gusty.
No, not yet. So it's still gusty out here. I'm feeling it because it's chilly as well. The wind is going to be gradually diminishing as we move through tonight, but tomorrow still a breezy wind around the region. Chilly enough that I finally had to trade in the suit jacket for a jacket out here on the weather deck. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight. Well, this is a beautiful one. We get lots of beautiful evening pictures sent in this time of the year, but this one was sent in by Betty McNeil from East Bay in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. Nice colors in the sky. I'm sure there's some beautiful fall colors in the trees around as well. Thank you so much for that, Betty. And East Bay for tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud and cool with the afternoon high temperature near 12 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow, first thing in the morning. Yeah, early morning temperatures in the Maritimes, mostly in the low to mid single digits. Western areas, New Brunswick, though, could be starting off the day a degree or two below the freezing mark. Remember, we have frost advisories in effect tonight for large areas of New Brunswick and the west of Nova Scotia. Now, moving into and through Friday afternoon, it will be mostly sunny to a fair weather mix of sun and cloud in the region. High temperatures will be up a few degrees compared to today. So mostly in the range around 12 to 15. That's pretty seasonable for this time of the year. Winds will be out of the west for tomorrow. They'll be sustained 10 to 20 kilometers per hour, and they'll have a few gusts between 20 and 40. Bruce.
Okay, thank you, Kaylin. Come on in and take the jacket off. Finally tonight, some shades of Windsor, Nova Scotia's famous Dill family in England this past weekend. Stuart and Ian Patton of England have broken 2 world records for the world's largest and the world's heaviest pumpkins. The farmers have been growing giant gourds for the past 50 years, and this is the first time they broke the world's record. 2,819 pounds. That's nearly 1,300 kilograms. It has a circumference of 6.5 meters. If you wanted to walk around it, you'd have to stop for a rest halfway. They learned the good news of the record-breaking at a weigh-in in Reading, England over the weekend. That's the program for this Thursday night. The rebroadcast begins in just a moment on CTV2 and, of course, CTVNewsAtlantic.ca updates right around the clock. I'm Bruce Frisco in for Todd Battis, and I will be back with your next newscast at 11:30 tonight. Thank you for watching this one. We hope to see you again really soon.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast.